and that is to put this discussion where it belongs. 61 million people worldwide are refugees. It's an astonishing figure. It is true they're not all fleeing war, but as we know from our own history, they are torn and displaced and find themselves as strangers in an even stranger place. And that's the context that we're talking about the fate of 6,000 inhabitants of direct provision in this country, 6,000 out of over 61 million worldwide. And how does our government and the system react? To quote Fintan O'Toole, direct provision is a form of limbo and a cruel and shameful system, a system where people are isolated and removed from any meaningful interaction with wider society. It's largely a for-profit system, operated privately and yielding huge profits for a few. But I think it's important. But there are others out there who are full of hatred and vitriol and try to spread misinformation and try to normalise their own prejudice and their own hatred. And I'm not directing my message to them because they don't want facts. They only want to misinform and to pluck out selective information that can back up their fanatical claims that we, the Irish nation, are being replaced and are under threat, that our culture is disappearing. This is rubbish, and it's dangerous rubbish. A classic example is very recently one of these people proclaimed that we do not have a housing crisis, we do not have a health crisis, we have an immigration crisis. So, take that to its logical conclusion. The reason we have over 100,000 people in housing need, over 10,000 homeless, and the tens of thousands that are routinely on trolleys is because of immigration. In one fell swoop, history is rewritten. The crisis never happened, that austerity never happened, that Shawnee Fitz or his buddies in Anglo-Irish never drove the economy over the edge, that the Lehman Brothers never went bust and brought the whole greedy banking system down with it, that we never paid off 64 billion in debt for the sins of bankers, developers and financiers. Equally, they say the health crisis wasn't caused by the cuts imposed, the beds that were taken out of the system by previous governments under Fianna Fáil and Fine Gael, or the support given by governments for privatised healthcare, for building a two-tier health system where those with money can be treated and survive and those who haven't suffer. No, they say the problem comes from others of different colour or religion who come here for a myriad of reasons. It's easier to point at them than to identify the wealthy, the causative and the privileged in this country who have done very well, thank you very much, out of the austerity years, and a stroke of a narrative absorbs the foreign investors, the vulture funds, our native Irish rich, the bankers I mentioned, cuckoo funds, and I could go on, absolves them and blames the immigrants. Shame on you that you haven't dented the housing crisis or the health crisis and that you've allowed this vitriol to become common parlance of a minority. But I know the vast majority out there get it, because when they spend nights and nights in the A&E, they see black nurses dying on their feet with tiredness, coming off a 12-hour shift, being as kind as anything to their friends and their loved ones. That's what they see and that's what they know, and that's what we have to stand for in this country.
Thank you, Deputy.